Oh, it's all right, everybody, I call this meeting to order. Since we may have had some people come in and out, I'm gonna have Peggy do attendance again, make sure we have quorum.
Okay. Stay. Yell here. Lori Fitzgerald. Here. John Andrew. Here. Here. Pat Pitt. Nancy Perry. I'm here. Joe Lehman. Fonda Heatherly. Ann Hasrat. Yes. Page. Here. Emily Mowers. Here. Chase. Here. Bob Schwab. Ben Kuiper.
Here.
Janet Zimmerman. Yes. Let me see if Ryan's online. Hi, Ryan. Ryan's online. Dylan Clapmeyer? He left. He was here. He took a phone call, I'm not sure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, but you're gonna have to talk loud. We can't hear very well.
Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
If you can call me here.
Oh, okay. I didn't get down to 7 yet. Sorry. I saw you. 8. Okay, 1, 2, 14. Yeah, we have a quorum.
Quorum is established. Today, just a reminder, today we have a quorum cut off of 8 o'clock. We're gonna try and adjourn by 7:45. We don't have a whole lot of, we don't have any decision items, so it's mostly gonna be recording, but, please keep the timeline in mind as you speak today. So with that, I will ask, is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Any public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into public comment on agenda items. Any public comment on agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we have no city commissioners. And the next item on the agenda will be the approval of the February 2025 full board minutes. Is there any discussion or amendments to the minutes as they stand? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move the approval as written.
5 seconds.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. I'll just go with the unanimous consent. Is there any objection? All right, minutes stand approved. So for officer reports, I just want to touch on a few things. We'll be pretty busy over the next few months, but if you're developing recommendations, we'll have likely some time on the agenda for this summer. So if they can wait, let's stage them out till then. If they are time sensitive, just reach out to us and let us know, and we'll squeeze it after that. We had some discussion last meeting about rules regarding neighborhood meetings and block parties and all that stuff. I did talk to the clerk, and she will be attending one of our summer meetings along with the city attorney to kind of go over the updated policy, so we're all on the same page and she'll stand for questions. There was some ideas about budgeting priorities getting sent to the commission prior to our actual budget recommendations. It was inferred to be that a good time to do that would be right after the passage of the final budget. We could then go in and do some priority for the next year, if we have identified any. So let's shoot for that. If you do have some ideas of stuff that's maybe more broad, that you would like to see the city implement, we can take that on, in the fall. There is a slight change to how we are going to be presenting to the city commission. The auditors that are looking at the expenses at the city level have asked that we start not only approving every expense that we make on public record, but also when we go to commission meetings, that we lay out those expenses that we incurred over the month, in a public forum, so that everybody knows what we're spending it on. That said, the expense reports will be sent to you before the commission meeting, so you'll just have to read it from the paper, so you won't have to make it up from your off the cuff, more or less. So that's all I have for chair report. Are there any questions? Okay, with that, we'll move to secretary.
I'll defer the outreach report to Emily. She needs to look into that. I'll have to take off. So I'll just do a quick treasurer report. Tonight we spent, or Peggy spent, so that expense. And then we previously approved folks' business cards for the process.
And you took that sort of.
So Brad, here.
Oh, there would have been a benefit.
Okay, so could you state the exact amount and what they're for? Stuff.
Well, I think only today we have $106 for the open house here. What? Because last month we approved this card and totals yard sale. So we're rolling up with that.
So I'll entertain a motion for approval of $106 for the open house.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passed. So last month, we passed a budget on the Grand Canyon recommendation. There was a few hiccups regarding that because the city manager requested some of the statements on recommendation, and they were false. So we went back to the drawing board, kind of reviewed what the city administrative level, what they were coming from, what their objections were, because there was a little bit of an issue getting it on the agenda, and we did end up discussing it from the commission, but we said that we'd bring it back to the HCC with the full city's perspective, so that we can all reconsider if we'd like to. It's not required, but if we, in conjunction with the author, we agreed that it would be best if the HCC is aware of those key points by the city manager. So, Diana, would you like to speak a little bit on that?
Sure. Yeah, here I thought we did such a simple thing, and it was also clear and all unanimous. But sometimes, memories are different 5 or 6 years later. So the land transfer happened in 2020, and when Peggy sent our recommendation to the city commission, she always copies the city commissioner. He responded really quickly, saying he had some questions and inaccuracies in the recommendation, which bothered me a lot. So I went back to involved in the land transaction in 2019 and 2020 and reconfirmed it all. That yes, at the time of, as stated in our recommendation, at the time of the land transfer, the intention was for the city to maintain a starting point. That was true, but they were also relying. I've learned a lot about this since our last meeting. they were relying on an accurate survey. And so it showed that the city had the right of way in 2019 and 2020. Turned out that survey was actually incorrect, and it was counties. Part of that was the county. So last year, the city did acquire the land that had been part of the county, they annexed it in. So, the people at the time in 2019 and 2020 were correct, because that was the intention based on the information they had. And the city manager is correct that the city could not, and when he said that the city could not have to maintaining a right of way, it didn't know at the time. So they're both right, so I think we can fix this. It's just been a little tricky trying to get the best, figure out the best path. So I happen to be the HCC rep on the 10th. So I reported to the city commission, elaborated on, the questions and confirmation at the time of the recommendation that we prepared. So I mean, I personally don't feel that we did anything wrong. We wrote a recommendation based on the information at the time, and we have an update. And so as part of the update, Lori, Ben, and I met. Sana wasn't available, but we met with the city manager, asked if we meet with the director of parks and planning last Friday, and we met with them for an hour. And it was a good discussion. I think things, and I think so. The trick is, the city is reluctant to vacate its right of way completely, but we may be able to figure out some language that allows us to do what we asked in our recommendation, which is permanently protect the Grand Canyon Trail from motorized vehicle traffic. And the concern, as we discussed, is that as long as the city's right of way exists, someone could petition to open that up. So how do we permanently protect the right of the Grand Canyon Trail, while at the same time honoring the city's interest or expressed interest in not completely vacating its right of way? So I think we can figure this out, and if, I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss it. Brian and Ben were at the meeting too, but maybe, but we have a little bit of time. I just wanted to give that update because it's very different than I thought. I thought we were done.
Yeah, so just in a procedural, just give a little procedural update here. We're not gonna make any decisions on this tonight, but we will have this as an agenda item for April. And by that time, I hope that either the Parks Board Director or the Planning Director or both will either be at our meeting or give us something in writing that kind of explains their viewpoint of the situation, so that you can consider that. If we want to bring this back on the table, make amendments or reconsider, that will be up to the body completely, but that will be on the agenda for next month. We have some questions. So, John?
So one of the questions I keep bringing up, and I brought this up to Mary Hollow, was south or southwest of LeGrand. Is there any blocks of land that are privately held that could be developed? Mary said, yes, there was, that they would be willing, Prickly Pear would be willing to secure those. The city hasn't really spoken to this. So the general agreement on the trail was everybody wanted to build into that land, then the access would be on LeGrand, and the city could not deny access to that, so they would unlock the gates and open it up. So I'm just wondering, I mean, there can be a general agreement that it will be a non-motorized trail as long as no one asks for access to their property. So I'm just wondering if the city has spoken to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the trick. So when I presented on March 10th and the city manager responded, I put this in the report, so you've got it there, but he said he didn't want to vacate the city's right of way, and my steep learning curve on how right of ways work. But as long as the right of way exists, someone could petition to open it up. But I believe that that decision would rest with the commission. So at one point, I think it was April of 2023, Westside Woods developer Sussex did come forward and ask if that he could use the Grand Canyon boat or the Grand Canyon Trail as an egress from Westside Woods, and the commission said no. So, but I think the reason we brought this forward was as long as that right of way exists, when there's no permanent protection without some specific action permanent protecting that. And the city manager of March 10th said they could do that with a resolution. And I think resolutions can also be undone by the commission. So the current commission may not, but it wouldn't be permanent protection. So that's what I meant when, how do we permanently protect this and still honor the city's the interest in maintaining at least part of the right of way. So it's a little confusing, but I think we've got, got people who are willing to work with us to try and figure out how to do this. That's helpful.
I just want to make sure that somebody from Prickly Pear will be coming to the April meeting, because I believe we're doing this. Not so much on their behalf. This is their concern and their issue, and it would be good to know what they think about all of this new development as well.
Well, we've been having lots of conversations. In fact, we had the meeting on Friday, and Nate Cobb from Prickly Pear was there online, and Joel Gerhardt, who presented at our February meeting, was also there, and they both provided public comment, both super supportive of what we're trying to do. Yeah.
Right, but I just want to emphasize, make sure some of them are coming to the April HCC conversation, so we can get their responses to all of this.
Yeah, if this ends up being on the April agenda, I'll make sure they.
Did the city express why they want to keep it right of way?
And it was logical and, it made a lot of sense. They just don't want to do it now. They will do it. It's a convoluted thing, but they wanted to roll this piece of property that the development has to provide for park. That part and the walkway into the city hall, the Helena City Park. But, so they don't want to give it up now because so it's a timing thing. They just didn't like how the recommendation was worded and maybe that adjusted. So everybody comes to the same.
They have to complete phase one of, and then they can move forward to parkland. So phase one has to be. That's what.
I don't think phase one has to be completed, but the city is tying the final plat approval for the west side subdivision to the permanent protection of the trail. So they're tying those two together. I don't know that it has to be that way, but that's what the city wants to do.
Just phase one.
All right, any further comments or questions on the topic? Okay, so this is obviously not typically how a recommendation process works, but we're identifying issues when they come up, and this just so happens to be that the city manager wanted to be looked at on this prior to our passage, and I think that makes sense. So when we have future recommendations, if they do have something specific to do with a department or city operation, it would be best to at least loop them in, especially if you're on a fact-finding phase in your recommendations, make sure that they know what's on the docket. They are not going to be able to veto anything that we're doing, but just in an effort to work with all the stakeholders in the city, I think it's important that we do have them on board. And that wasn't the author's fault, it was my fault that we didn't get him on board. So we'll avoid situations like this in the future.
Would you mind elaborating on how we should best do that? Because we're not supposed to reach out to to the department heads directly, but we're supposed to go through the city manager, or how do we best do that?
So the best way to do this would be to reach out to the department director via email and CC the city. And when they're both on that email, they will converse with themselves to make sure that this is something that the city manager is okaying them to put their time into. That's the best way to move forward as of now. If that changes, I'll let you know. But if you have any questions navigating the city while you are creating recommendations, reach out to any of us and we'll help you out.
Two.
Yeah, and Becky. All right, any other questions? Okay. Let me get my place. All right, so we'll move into budget committee updates.
Okay, this one. So there is a schedule of budget meetings that's been posted. Website certain to the members of the budget committee that follow on that. And I believe I have the meeting starting 14. And lots of departments and the which ones already know. Maybe even on. So starting in April, many of them going through May. And there again is a very short time period between the last meeting and when we need to give our recommendation. So Ben and I did meet with the city manager earlier this month. He was pretty open to possibly giving us more time between that last meeting and when we have to present, and he's also offered to potentially let us have time with the commission and discuss our recommendations. Oh, sorry. So we're trying to work with him on that, and Sheila Danielson. See if we can get a little more all of that. Otherwise, we will try to have the document done all around in May 20th.
Yeah, so for now, we're going to schedule May 28th as the budget recommendation meeting. And if that changes, we'll let you know. Any questions for Laura and budget committee? Okay. All right, we kind of touched on the new business item a little bit. There's a little bit of a scheduling issue with downtown bid and home tourism. We're hopefully going to get them to our May meeting or our April meeting, I'm sorry. But we haven't confirmed that. So we're working on that still. And if that doesn't work out, we'll figure out an alternative. And we touched on the May 28th budget recommendation. So, if there is an effort to get some public input on the budget, I know that's very difficult, but, I would like to at least try something, some sort of event to get the public in, just so that we can say that we did have it. If we have further plans on that, you'll know in an email. All right, any questions? Okay, moving into commission attendees reports. We have a little bit of time, but please be brief. Those of you that sent your stuff in writing, I thank you, but you can go into just a brief summary of what you saw at the meeting. So, Nancy, we're gonna be first.
Okay, so mine was March 5th. Sorry, thank you. It was just an interesting meeting, but there was one item on there that I found it hard to understand. There's part of the urban renewal district, or down on the buildings on Main Street. There were a couple of buildings that were missed. One of those was the main opera house, which is up on Jackson. This big old building that's attached to it, the name is tracked some. And they can be connected together. And they're just simply the opera house belongs to the Shriners. So anyway, the Helen Symphony decided that they wanted to have those views of the. I'm not real sure from my notes, I said that they wanted to buy it. Sure, if they really wanted to buy it, or if they just wanted to make it over and the shrine said that it'd be okay, I don't know. But what was interesting about that is that for a big project like that, you don't just find out how much it's gonna cost. You have to get some company to do a feasibility study to see if somebody would actually be capable of raising money that it would take in order to either buy it or to the renovations. And the cost of the feasibility study is $17,000. Speaking of David Canopy, he has no money at all. Feasibility study, that was in the. But anyway, the feasibility study, there are companies that want to do this, and they're countrywide, USA-wide companies. And they want the 70,000. The symphony, of course, doesn't have 70,000 there, and they thought that we want to kick in 30,000 of that. So that was the discussion, and they didn't hold on it or anything at the time. But I found that very interesting. I think just start calling carpenters and making reservations. So anyway, that was the thing I thought was interesting.
Diane.
Well, I've gone over most of what I put in my report. I'll just add a couple other things. They are going to fund, the feasibility study. And that Nancy just referred to, they're, allocating TIF money for demolition of that old muffler shop. Chance in Glendale. Oh, it's gone. Oh my goodness. Okay. And then, also allocating TIF funds for like, building at 316 Fuller, some facade improvements. That's it.
All right, March 19th, John.
So quickly, board and committee updates. I think this was an annual thing. Parking advisory just kind of rehashed what they do, promoting cost-effective and efficient management for the parking system, evaluate user input, and provide with input on the annual budget allocations, parking pricing. City Conservation Board did a PowerPoint where they covered community climate action, supporting residential renewable energy loan program, invest in green transportation, invest in solid waste diversion, and promote water conservation. Department reports, they went over keeping the downtown open parades. Finance Director Danielson wanted to create a resolution dealing with non-sufficient funds that will apply to all city divisions and be linked to the city's bank accounts. And the commission asked that an appeal option be written into that. Bill repair at on the U.S. Navy in Parkdale. Civic Center fee structure increase for all rentals. And then Open Lands did a PowerPoint going over 10 projects that the trail use benefit from. If approved and completed, these projects provided trailhead parking use area hours because of partying and vandalism. Construction of a new parking area, several trail connector creations, and a few trail reroute. And then they had a discussion on transportation systems, cabling of removal of a residential District B and 1100 buildings happening because of interactions with residents in Helena High School.
Thank you. March 24th, Chase.
It was a pretty quick and easy meeting. They had confirmation for 2 police officers and a new fire department assistant chief. There's also compilation of an interim term to the Citizens Conservation Board. They awarded a bid to Hello Sand and Gravel for the Centennial Drive Water Main Replacement Project. Total cost of $312,000. Both of the fiscal year 2024 financial and federal civil audits were approved. The audits were clean. They have a new software that's going to make that a lot easier moving forward, but learning that software this year did make it a little late, but it sounds like the audit system is going to be a lot cleaner and easier forward. There'll be a public hearing on April 7th to establish the new fees for the Civic Center. And there's a zoning change for Meadows that's approved, as well as the Railroad District neighborhood plan for the 6-4 area.
All right, thank you. Any brief comments, questions on the committee reports?
David Saba.
Okay, we'll move into our committee report.
Okay, there's a new treasurer account script that they want whoever this commission meetings. Chase was lucky enough to read the first one, so when you're going to attend the meeting, I'll send it to you with numbers on it and to Lori. I'm getting audited and want to be able to find it. So it's not like we always have approved. Did that go well for you, Chase? Okay. So tomorrow I have a meeting about just the HCC. And I wondered if there's anything else you want to have on our budget. You want to have 2 open houses next year? Should we plan for that? Yes?
Yes.
We need to update our brochure, even though it was new, URL on it, and the QR code are expired. They made us change that. So that was $350. Into our budget again. I know someone. Okay, and I'm already started some, still need to do several this year and almost all the rest of the budget. I believe some that might have a neighborhood open house. If it's after July 1st, it'll go on next year. So I also want to have $50 per district. So that would be the amount of $350. So, $350 in the budget for each district. They want to use their $50 for the neighborhood. And that's about it. If anyone think of anything else they want to update the business card, we have our tokens. We're going to have brochures, open houses. Improve or something new. Do you need it? No.
And is this, if we were to have a street party, is that something that we will go into this now? Because
Well, it depends. If you have it before July 1st, then make sure some money. And then do you know how much spending? And we also have a forum issue. So you have too many districts. It's 12 and 13 HCC members, then you have a quorum, and it has to be on the agenda. So if you have one, don't have one.
it's a lot, but I got, it's really the city, they're charging so much. So anyway, but if we want to do it, I think we would put that in the budget.
And everyone's pretty unsure of what these permits cost. Are they $500 at some?
So I can say what District 1's experience is. Because we can't guarantee that no one will bring alcohol, you block off the street. It ranges between $250 and $500 through the insurance policy and the way the city's currently in the block party ordinance.
Well, would you like me to try to put that for one big block party for next year in the budget?
For HCC.
Just for HCC. We might as well ask
I
for it.
think we were asking for, And also, this would be a way to have a discussion with them about the elements.
We don't know that yet, but it's been upfront when the budgets are approved. Spend the money. You see that?
Yeah, we'll have to approve the budget before we send it over to the, so we'll see the final numbers. Maybe we'll just look into how much we can ask for, right?
Yeah, we're gonna look at the April meeting and, yeah, I just.
Okay. Any questions, Peggy? Okay, we will move on. Yeah, and we have to leave. Do you have a quick outreach?
All right, we're back to staff tonight. So the outreach committee met. Our focus was mainly on tonight's event. Wow, what a nice turnout. It was so great. And I really think Director Knopke did a nice job answering questions and like really taking time. I don't know if you knew what question, but it was, so that was the main focus of the outreach meeting. And then we did get the tote bags, which are right in front of that. Those are done, but just, and then the other thing we talked about was the art walk in May. So it's Friday, May 9th, 4 to 8. So we'll be looking for volunteers to staff the table, maybe a 2-hour walk. And we have space either inside or outside. These.
All right, questions for outreach? Okay, we'll move into committee reports. Due to time, I want to cut this short. If you have anything that's pressing that you want the HCC to know about, we can have a few minutes for that. Is there anything? If not, you can send them in writing. Okay. Any quick district reports? Okay. Our next one.
Question is it? And so, is there, have you, the executive board talked with the city manager or Renee about, you know, that we absolutely have to report our district meetings?
Yeah, so, I met with her, with Peggy, the clerk, I'm trying to say her, a few weeks ago. And essentially it is policy and it's based off of new MCA, which is law, that there has to be a Zoom or recording component to these meetings. They are interpreting a district as quorum for that district. There are probably some objections to that definition, but like I said, they'll come in the summer to speak to us and you can ask them all the questions you'd like.
Ryan's gonna send it to you. We see you, Ryan, but you probably can't see us.
Could you ask them to send us as soon as possible, well before they come, send us the citation, state law policies, so we can have that ahead of time, so we have an intelligent discussion about it.
So I
Could you send that to us, please? Super, thanks.
Peggy will send that out to the group. Ryan, go ahead.
You have to talk loud, Ryan. We're having trouble hearing. Can you
Yeah,
hear us?
it's pretty muffled on your end too. If there was a question, would you mind repeating it?
The question that was just raised. Can you hear us?
Sorry, I can't hear you still, Brian. Ben,
Ben is.
Bring it to the computer.
So the question was if the city clerk and the city attorney could give us the MCA and the policy that relates to the district meetings being recorded, and Peggy said that she would send that out.
oh, okay.
Ben, can I follow?
Yeah.
And I think what would be more helpful there too is, if the city attorney is like, let's together his interpretation, because that, I'm aware that state law is a state law, but I don't know if I would agree that individual districts are a forum of a public meeting or a legal body, so I'd be kind of interested in their legal opinion on individual districts needing to be public meetings. Right, so like, what if, you know, 4 of us go get a drink or something together?
All right, any other comments or questions on that before we wrap up? Okay, before we close, I did want to mention the League of Women Voters is hosting an event here Thursday. It'll be at the library and it's for the, entire Valley's planning, process coming up. So there'll be the, representative from the city, from East Helena, from the county, and I think it'll be a zoning. It'll be a open format like our open house. Is that right? Okay, so, if you want to do that, that's on Thursday at 5 o'clock here. And it goes till 6:30. So, is there anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn?
Oh, he still has his hand raised. Do you have anything else, Ryan?
Nothing for me.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that I will entertain a motion to close. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any objection? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Thanks.
You're welcome. No, do you want to go?
The library has asked in the past, I'm sure this was, I can go out.
Thank you.